So the new Berserk update has just dropped, and of course we all know about the new weapons that have been introduced, and the absolute ridiculous amount of new changes. In today's video we mainly focus on one thing in particular, and that is the new Felthorn Reaper. The Felthorn Reaper is a new longsword that has been introduced, with a base damaging stat of 275, 115 crit damage and +1 swing range. Once it's fragged, that weapon is basically buffed and now gives 285 base damage, 10 strength, 125 crit damage and +1.5 swing range. In the past, if you wanted a sword that basically had reach, then you would have to opt for something like the Dark Claymore, which these days is going to set you back almost 600 million coins. The base damaging stats on this weapon do make up for the price, however it is a little bit pricey if you ask me. However, there's something that needs to be considered with this new weapon, and that's the new Berserk changes within dungeons. We gain strength as defense, and also the Weapon Master perk means that our melee weapons hit up to 5 enemies within your swing range. In a frontal cone, increases your maximum swing range by 3.92 blocks. And obviously this scales with your catacombs level, or well, should I say your class level. This means that within dungeons, you don't actually need a weapon that has a base swing range stat to be able to benefit from hitting mobs from further away. You could just simply use a regular weapon, a regular sword, and just benefit from those class bonuses rather than the weapon itself. Today we're going to put the new Felthorn Reaper up against the Shadow Fury. But before we do that, make sure to use code NITROS if you are planning on purchasing anything from the Hypixel store. It gets yourself 5% off. Also, you should subscribe to their channel, it really does help out a lot. And you should join the Discord server, links in the description of this video. We offer things like Slayer and Dungeon carries, or even if you want to carry Slayers and Dungeons and make some coins, you should join. This Shadow Fury that we have right here is worth around about 61 to 62 million coins. And as for this Felthorn Reaper, it's worth around about 110 million coins. That seems a little cheap. It's probably worth somewhere close to 120 mil. So in other words, this Felthorn Reaper at the moment is probably going to drop because this item is new, it's going to drop over time, but at the moment it's around about twice the price of the Shadow Fury. We don't have the gemstone slots unlocked in this Shadow Fury either, so we'll take that into account. Both weapons have one for all, both are hot potatoed, both are fragged, both are 5-starred, both are recombobulated. It's the easiest for a comparison. By no means am I saying one for all is better than regular enchantments, because that isn't true. But for the sake of the comparison, it makes more sense to do it this way. I mean, either way would work, but I was lent a one for all Felthorn Reaper and a one for all Shadow Fury, so that's what we're doing. Now, first of all, I actually want to test these two weapons outside of dungeons. So that means that we'll have our Shadow Fury here, and also our Felthorn Reaper. Of course, outside of dungeons, this has +1.5 swing range, which means that on top of our regular reach in Minecraft, we'll be able to hit an extra 1.5 blocks further with this weapon. The Shadow Fury doesn't have that at all. Now, something really cool about the Felthorn Reaper is its right-click ability. Slash in a huge arc, dealing 135% melee damage to all enemies hit. We can also charge that up by just regularly left-clicking. Also, this weapon is going to deal more damage against mobs that have basically got more of their health depleted, which isn't going to make too much difference against hub zombies. Now, we're going to use the same armor set throughout this testing, just because it'll just be easier to do it that way. We're going to use this Necron set with our Tarantula helmet. Okay, first of all, our one-hit damage with the Shadow Fury is 851k. Now let's test it again because we do have Fabled. We got 851k. I don't even know what that was. 893. Okay, so let's say between 850 to 950k damage. And now with our left click, regular left click with the Felthorn Reaper. 758k, 745, 781. So that looks to be between 750 and 800k damage, which is already less than the Shadow Fury. Of course, like I said before, the Shadow Fury doesn't have gemstone slots unlocked either. Now, of course, we can hit from further away with this weapon. We would not be able to reach the enemy right there with the Shadow Fury. We can also try our right-click ability. It's almost just like a melee damage Hyperion almost. And the damage is actually kind of cracked. We're dealing over 1 million, nearly 1.1 million damage with the right click. It really is like a melee Hyperion. It is actually a cracked ability. Of course, we can't deny the right click ability on the Shadow Fury. So many uses. Pretty ridiculous. Okay, we're now going to move over to a floor 6. We're going to solo queue. I'm so happy about this feature. Make sure we are the Berserk class. And sure, this is absolutely cracked. We're using our Shadow Fury. We look to be dealing around about 20 to 25 million damage. Probably averaging around about 22. Switching to our Felthorn Reaper. And kind of better considering we can hit these mobs from further away. But we do deal slightly less damage, it has to be said. Our damage is somewhere between 17 to around about 22 million rather than 20 to 25. Now that's something that can't be understated is the clearing ability of this sword. Look at that. In comparison to anything else that we've ever seen for Berserk, that is ridiculous. The right click ability on this thing is literally a melee Hyperion. It's got to be said. And honestly, you can, even though it's just an extra 1.5 swing range, you really can tell the difference. I'm not going to lie, like, it just is fun. Berserk just is fun to play. It really is now. Especially when you can just right click and yeah, it's cracked. Honestly, one of the best things about the new Berserk update is that you don't even have to be accurate. You can hit from a range, but because it actually swings in a cone, you really don't have to be accurate at all. It's amazing. And how does this is just so reminiscent of a Hyperion. It really is, which is so weird to say, considering it's a Berserk weapon. Okay, let's see how we fare in Blood Room. That was really disappointing. That was just me missing, though. Barracosta's not an issue either. I'm gonna die, aren't I? Nah, it's fine. It's fine. This sword's OP, man. It's so OP. You would not be able to do that as a Berserk before. You just wouldn't. Alright, and to be honest, the reason why I did nearly die is because this has one for all, and obviously I don't get the Cypher or anything like that, which is slightly unfortunate. So far, this is what we have. The Shadow Fury does more damage, and in fairness, in terms of one-hit damage, it would definitely do even more if it had the gemstone slots unlocked with gemstones in. Of course, the Felthorn Reaper doesn't have gemstone slots, so that's a bit of a downside. The Felthorn Reaper is double the price of the Shadow Fury, and like we said, it does probably around about 10% less damage-ish, maybe a tiny bit more than 10% less. On the plus side, it does have plus 1.5 swing range, which is really nice. It makes it way more versatile. Things like ghosts, I mean, just everything basically in the game that requires melee, it makes it way easier. You don't have to get really as close to enemies as you need to with a conventional weapon, meaning that you basically don't take as much damage. You can just stay further away. Obviously, that depends on the enemy and the type and so on. Now, I've got to say, the Shadow Fury always has been a steal. The ridiculous amount of damage it does for the price is just kind of unmatched. However, this weapon for 120 million coins is also very, very good value for money. It's really, really good in dungeons, really good to clear, has a ridiculously good right-click ability, like I've said about 3 times, which reminds me of a Hyperion. Obviously, like I said, it has the swing range and does a lot of damage. You have to remember as well that, of course, the Shadow Fury in dungeons is gonna get a buff of swing range, even though it doesn't have it as an actual base perk, because of the Berserk class bonuses. Overall, I think both weapons are really, really good value for money. The Shadow Fury does slightly more damage, however, the Felthorn Reaper does slightly less damage, but has a lot more additional perks, a ridiculously good right-click ability, additional swing range, which makes it probably better for a lot more things, pretty much anything to do with melee. I don't know, if you've used this weapon, let me know in the comments. What do you think of it? Do you think it's priced at a good price? Do you think it's a good weapon? I really do think it is. If you did enjoy today's video, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next one.
Walk 2500 on my shirt with the